The South Carolina Hall of Fame was founded in Myrtle Beach in 1973 to recognize and honor contemporary and past citizens who have made outstanding contributions to South Carolina's heritage, history, and progress.
War hero, statesman, writer. That's the complicated character we know as Peter Horry.
On March 12, 1744, in the rural district of Georgetown, one of South Carolina's founding fathers was born. Peter Horry, who was of French Huguenot descent, grew up learning to read and write at the Winya Indigo Society School near his home.
He had a hard life growing up in many ways, but I think that served him well.
Horry was a captain in the famous 2nd Regiment of the Continental Line in South Carolina, and he will be there at that great battle at Fort Sullivan, now called Fort Moultrie, where we defeated that British fleet in the early summer of 1776.
After the Patriot victory at the Battle of Fort Sullivan and their subsequent loss in the Siege of Savannah, enlistments began to run low, and many of the regiments became consolidated, causing Horry to lose his command. Things remained quiet in South Carolina until British forces landed in the spring of 1780.
I think you have to understand where the revolution was in 1780. It was stalemated in the north. The British were really frustrated, but they were not going to give up, and so they launched the southern strategy.
British forces set up a base in Savannah and prepared to move north through South Carolina. There, they captured Charleston, forcing over 6,000 Patriot soldiers to surrender.
That is the greatest disaster on the American side in the Revolutionary War.
Because Horry had been released from his command, he and famed Revolutionary War hero Francis Marion were not part of the surrender. So when they heard about the fall of Charleston, Marion, Horry, and a handful of militia fighters took to the swamps.
They destroyed the boats, they stole the horses, they attacked every little party they could.
When you think about what the Huguenot tradition was, they had this core belief that all people were of equal value before God. And so when facing what they considered to be British tyranny, no one was fiercer in the resistance and the defense of what they considered to be the core values of America.
Marion and Horry continued to hide in the swamps, stalling and ambushing British forces whenever they could, despite meager supplies and weaponry.
What they were good at, men like Peter Horry, they were good at the attack and then retreat and then ambush.
That hard life that these people grew up with, like Horry in South Carolina, paid huge dividends in the American Revolution.
In 1785, Horry's longtime compatriot Francis Marion passed away. In an attempt to share their story, Horry asked a traveling minister and book salesman by the name of Parson Weems to write Marion's biography. The results were disastrous.
When Peter Horry finally sees it, he writes Weems, "'Tis not my history, but your romance."
Despite the embellished life of Marion, Horry and his famed friend were properly commemorated.
So if you look at a map of South Carolina today, you see Horry County and you see Marion County. Just like the Revolution, Francis Marion, the great leader in South Carolina, his right-hand man, Peter Horry, Marion and Horry.
In 1812, Peter Horry began keeping a private journal, which offers vivid descriptions of life at the beach, rice planting, and interactions with his domestic slaves. After building his home near the South Carolina College, he even shared amusing stories about the drunken students that walked by.
The journal is a who's who of the rich and famous in South Carolina in 1812.
Today, only portions of Horry's life are recorded in our history, but his dedication to the Patriot cause and to the fabled Francis Marion make him one of South Carolina's most important Revolutionary War heroes.